What's going on, guys? It's the Beast Bailey, and welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be a preview for the 2021 SEC Championship game. The SEC Championship, Georgia has played in this game the 3 of the past 4 years. So Georgia won at one time, but as we all know, Georgia's 12-0, and they won the East. Alabama won 11-1, won in the West, and so we're gonna have a showdown in Atlanta this coming Saturday. Georgia is currently favored by 6.5 points. I don't remember what the over/under was. I didn't look at it. But Georgia is favored by 6.5. It was 6 this morning, and it went to 6.5 by the afternoon. So it might go up or down. It just depends. 7 points could be it could be the final. What's it called? The final spread number. Anyway, I have spent an extensive amount of research to prepare for this video, because I'm gonna try to make this as legit as possible, and I'm gonna give you guys the straight facts. I have my notes, everything I need for this video, and give you a little bit of a rundown of this game. So I'm gonna start with Georgia. Stetson Bennett has been the quarterback for the majority of the season. He has started 9 games. He's 9-0 as a starter. Stetson Bennett, he's completed 65% of his passes. He's averaging 10.8 yards per pass. He is 119 of 183 with 1,985 passing yards, and he has 21 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Bryce Young for Alabama, he has completed 68.9% of his passes, and he has an average of 9.3 yards per pass. He has completed 288 of 418 passes, and he has 3,901 yards passing. He has 40 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So that's the 2 quarterbacks. They're going to be starting this game. So pretty much Bryce Young's stats are a lot better, or they look a lot better. To me, that's just eye candy for somebody to say. You look at that, you see the 40 touchdowns, you think, oh, he's really good. Slow down. Whoa, slow. Hold up, big man, hold up. It's just eye candy. That's all that is. It's 40 touchdowns. That is impressive. That is a lot, but that does not reflect how good he is as a overall quarterback. And neither the Stetson stats. Stetson's stats are not, flashy. So that's what it is. And Stetson's stats did not reflect how bad or good he is either. So, but we will dissect it. The two things about the quarterbacks that I really need to stress in this video is Stetson Bennett has been sacked 6 times this season. 6 times. Bryce Young has been sacked 33 times this season. 33 times? That's not good. That's not good for Alabama. Yeah, the offensive line for Alabama is probably the weakest link on the offense, and I would say probably the running backs are the next after that. But yeah, the offensive line is not for Alabama. It's been pretty bad this year, especially the right side. That has been horrible for Alabama. Bryce Young is a quarterback that does not scramble. He does not use his legs to escape, and that's alarming. Stetson Bennett, however, is very good at using his legs. This dude will outrun 5-star linebackers and 5-star DBs who come up to who are blitzing. He will outrun them. He can. I've seen him do it. He will outrun them. I expect Stetson to use his legs in this game. I expect him to extend drives with his legs. I expect Georgia's offensive line to block up front. Alabama's defensive line has not been the best either. They're good, but they're not. They just haven't gotten home a whole lot. Total rushing. These are total rushing yards for both teams. Alabama has 447 rush attempts for 1,804 yards. They're averaging 4 yards a carry rushing as a team and 20 touchdowns on the ground. And that also includes Bryce Young's numbers. Bryce Young has negative 233 yards, sack yards. Georgia has 450 rush attempts, so just 3 more rush attempts, with 2,425 rushing yards, averaging 5.4 yards a carry as a team, and 28 touchdowns. So Georgia does have the better run game statistically. All right, when it comes to passing, Alabama has 302 completions for 4,102 yards, averaging 13.6 passing yards attempt, with 41 touchdowns. So Bryce Young has all their touchdowns except for one. Georgia's passing is 197 completions with 2,883 yards and 30 touchdowns, averaging 14.6 yards per play. I couldn't read. I couldn't tell if that said two. I thought that said 2,883. I think it does. So Alabama obviously has the passing game. We all knew that. But Georgia is almost 50-50. They're evenly balanced when it comes to yards and touchdowns. Evenly balanced almost. Let's talk about the running backs. Zamir White, James Cook, Kenny McIntosh, Kendall Milton, Dejon Edwards. Those are the main running backs that have played for Georgia this year. Kendall Milton is hurt. He hasn't played in the last 4 or 5 games. Dejon Edwards is a running back that only plays when Georgia's up by 30 in the 4th or 3rd quarter. He'll come in and carry the rock. For Alabama, they have Brian Robinson Jr., Trey Sanders, and Jace McClellan, and Roydell Williams. Roydell Williams and Brian Robertson are probably not going to play due to injuries. Williams will be having surgery on his knee, and I believe Brian Robertson, he got hurt against Auburn, and so he might not be there. Brian Robertson is their leading rusher with 207 carries, 1,016 yards, 14 touchdowns, and he averaging 4.9 yards per rush. Trey Sanders, a former Georgia commit who went to Alabama, has 50 carries, 221 yards, and 2 touchdowns, averaging 4.4 yards. And then J.C. McKellen has 40 carries, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, and 4.8 yards per carry. And Bryce Young has 2 rushing touchdowns and negative 36 rushing yards. So the running game has not been, Brian Robertson has carried the load. And if he's not playing, that means Trey Sanders and J.C. McKellen are going to be the main 2 dudes running the ball. And that's not going to be good for Alabama. Alabama's going to have to be two-dimensional. Both Georgia and Alabama's going to have to be two-dimensional. Whoever wants to win this game, you're going to have to be able to run the ball and pass the ball. You're not beating Georgia passing the ball, and you're not going to beat Alabama just passing the ball. You are going to have to run and throw on both of these teams, and whoever wants to win the game more, you're going to have to be two-dimensional. So for Georgia, Zamir White, 128 carries, 691 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5.4 average. James Cook, 90 carries, 581 yards, 7 touchdowns, 6.5 average. Kenny McIntosh, 50 carries, 285 yards, 3 TDs, 5.7 average. Kendall Milton, like I said, he's hurt, hadn't played. 49 carries, 243 yards, 1 TD, 5 yards average. And then Dejon Edwards has 45 carries, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3.9 average yards. So And James Cook and Kenny McIntosh also have some decent receiving stats as well. They each have a couple hundred yards, and Zamir White. They do. I think they have a couple receiving touchdowns apiece, maybe. But they've been pretty good out of the backfield. The running backs favor Georgia going into this game. They just do. The running game, the QB is favored Alabama. The running backs are favored Georgia, just based off the stats alone and the eye test. So now let's get into the good stuff, the wide receivers and tight ends. So these are going to be your offensive weapons. For Alabama, let's get into it. John Mechie. We have John Mechie, my boy. Jameson Williams. I didn't write his name down for some reason, but I have his stats. John Mechie has 90 receptions for 1,045 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's averaging 11.6 yards per play. Jameson Williams has 61 catches for 1,261 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 20.7 yards per play. 20.7 yards per play, that's a lot. That's a pretty good stat to have. Jameson Williams, the Ohio State transfer, he has absolutely been phenomenal for Alabama this year. And really, without him, it's Mechie. Next up, the tight end, Jaleel Billingsley. Has 14 catches, 217 yards, 3 TDs, averaging 15.5 yards per carry. And the next, the tight end, Cameron Latte, 19 receptions, 286 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 15.1 yards per carry as well. Yeah, you look at the wide receivers, and the reason why I only have the 2 wide receivers and 2 tight ends is mainly because the other wide receivers are just a couple hundred-yard receivers. They're not really like crazy. These are the main 2 dudes, John Mechie and Jameson Williams. And these 2 tight ends have been the main 4 targets for Bryce Young. Now for Georgia, the leading receiver is the freshman tight end Brock Bowers, arguably the best tight end in the country. He has 37 catches, 652 yards, 10 touchdowns, averaging 17.6 yards per play. Ladd McConkey has 26 catches for 395 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 15.2 yards per catch. A.D. Mitchell, 24 catches, 334 yards, 2 touchdowns, 13.9 yards per play. And Jermaine Burton, 20 catches, 376 yards, 4 touchdowns, 18.8 yards per play. Georgia has been missing like 70% of the starting offensive weapons. George Pickens, Arian Smith, Dominic Blaylock, Garrett Jackson, Arik Gilbert. All these guys have been absolutely gone all year. George Pickens finally had his first catch last week against Georgia Tech. And Arian Smith, I believe he broke his leg. So just recently. So he did come back from an injury, ankle injury, and then he broke his leg in practice. Dominic Blaylock did come back against Charleston Southern. Hopefully we'll see him play against Alabama. Garrett Jackson, his stats are not that great. He has like 100-something yards and 1 touchdown, but he's been battling injuries all year, and he is just a ball. He's a player. I mean, the dude's a baller. He'll make a play on the ball. The stats favor Alabama, but Georgia does have weapons that have been consistent and successful all year long. Darnell Washington, another one of the tight end, also he's been good for Georgia. But the stats, the wide receivers and tight ends, more than likely are going to favor Alabama based off the stats. Brock Bowers, probably the best playmaker in the receiving corp. So that's what it is. So offense probably going to favor Bama, and that's just the case. The offense, Alabama always has a good offense, but Georgia has held its own though this year with the offense they've had. They've had their own, and that's because of the defense. And speaking of defense, let's get into that. Alrighty, let's get into this defense stats. For some reason, I wrote the size of an ant, and so I'm going to have to zoom in my eyes and then read these. All right. So we'll start with Georgia's defensive line. Devontae Wyatt, Trayvon Walker, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is probably the most talked about defensive player on the team, but he has the worst stats of all the D linemen. And I didn't know this because I don't really look at the stats, like in-depth stats like this, but Jordan Davis has 10. Now, these are solo tackles, 10 solo tackles and 2 sacks. Jalen Carter has 14 solo tackles and 3 sacks. Trayvon Walker has 14 solo tackles and 4 sacks. Devontae Wyatt has 12 solo tackles and 2.5 sacks. And they also have a couple pass defended on themselves to breakups, stuff like that. Alrighty, so, and it's and you look at those stats, Georgia rotates them in and out. Trayvon Walker has absolutely become a beast in the last 4 or 5 games. He's getting rotated in and out. Jordan Davis, again, he's a stud, a dude. But all of them are phenomenal D linemen. They're just guys that they just dismantle offensive lines. And all three of these guys are going to be in the backfield against Alabama. All 3 of them will. All 4 of them. Let's talk about Alabama's D line. Alrighty. So we have I can't pronounce this dude's name. Phil Fidamala. His name starts with a P. I'm gonna call him Fadoop. He has 15 solo tackles, 7 sacks, pretty impressive. 1 forced fumble, and another guy, Labrine Ray, 5 solos and 1 sack. Tim Smith, 9 solos, half a sack, and Byron Young, 16 solos and 2 sacks. So that's really the main guys Alabama's D line has participated, and Georgia's defensive line has been a little bit better than theirs. When it comes to the sacks, the main dude has been the guy's name I can't seem to pronounce. His name is Fidonto Mathis. Fidon. My handwriting is atrocious. That's why I can't read it. And I'll be honest with you, I can't read this dude's name. But he's got the best stats. I'm going to call him Fadoop Doop. Fadoop Doop's got 15 solo tackles and 7 sacks. Georgia has the D-line, the better D-line. Let's move to the linebackers. All right, for Alabama, the linebackers, of course, we have my boy Will Anderson. Dude's just an exciting player to watch. He's got 49 solo tackles, 14.5 sacks. My dude is getting them sacks. All righty. 14 sacks. Yep. I'm trying to read if he had a fumble or not. I don't think so. I don't think that's what it says. Christian Harris, 36 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. Next up, I'm going to talk about is Henry Toto. 41 solos, 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble. And Drew Sanders and Dallas Turner, each with 10 and 11 solos and 1 sack and 4.5 apiece. Next up, we're going to talk about Georgia's linebackers. We have Channing Tindall, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, Nolan Smith, and Robert Beal Jr. 24 solos for Channing Tindall, 4.5 sacks. Nakobe Dean, 25 solo, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. Quay Walker, 27 solo, 1.5 sacks. Nolan Smith, 19 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 1 int. And Robert Beal Jr., 8 tackles, not many, but he does have 4.5 sacks and 1 interception. So the linebackers, Alabama's, of course, have the higher solo tackle rate, but the sacks, except for Will Anderson is the main dude. Kind of going back to the Fadoop D-line. Will Anderson, that one dude, there's really just one guy in each department that are kind of the main dudes, but with Georgia, it is more flushed out because they rotate at an elite level. They rotate in so they get fresh legs in there. So that's just really what I'm seeing so far. There's just one guy who has run the stats up, and then for Georgia, it's like everybody gets a piece of the cake, except for Alabama. It's like one dude gets 8 of the 10 slices, and somebody else will get the other 2 slices. It's kind of what I'm seeing. DBs. Let's talk about the DBs. All right, Lewis Cine for Georgia. Latavius Brini, Deion Kendrick, Dan Jackson, Keely Ringo, and Chris Smith. Lewis Cine, 26 solo, 8 pass defended, 1 int. Latavius Brini, 23 solos, 8 pass defended as well. Deion Kendrick, 17 solos, 3 pass defended, 2 ends. Dan Jackson, 21 solos. Keely Ringo, 16 solos, 1 sack, 7 pass defended. Chris Smith, 13 solo, 1 pass defended, 2 ends. I'm going to read from this right here. Alabama's got Jalen Marduce, 21 solos, 3 ends, 11 pass defends. Jordan Jordan Blaine, I think it's Bain, 36 solo, 2 ends, 3 pass defended. Brian Branch, 26 solo, 5 pass defended. And DeMarcus Hellum, 42 solo, 2 ends, and a pass defended. Kind of even here. Like I said, DeMarcus Hang, 42 solos. And that one dude that has all the stats, and everybody else is kind of on there's like 1 or 2 dudes. And so yeah. And also Josh Jobe and David Wilson also. I wrote them off to the side because they also have good stats. Alrighty. So let's compare the defenses. Georgia's defense has 41 sacks, 12 interceptions, 754 total tackles, and that includes solos and assisted. 47 pass defended, 7 forced fumbles, and 3 defensive touchdowns. Alabama has 43 sacks, 13 interceptions, 788 tackles, 33 pass defenders, 4 forced fumbles, and 1 defensive touchdown. So Georgia wins the pass defended, forced fumbles, interceptions. The pass defended, forced fumbles, and defensive touchdowns. Alabama has 2 more sacks, 1 more interception, and about 30 extra tackles. So the defenses, so each in those 6 categories, 3 go one way, 3 go the other. So that's pretty much a rundown of the stats. And I did a lot of research. I really tried to get as much as I could out of this. And yeah, I spent like 4 hours just trying to get the stats and just really kind of think about, hey, and I gave you that guys a rundown to kind of show you these are the stats. This is the facts right here. We've seen Alabama struggle against Florida, LSU, Tennessee into the 4th quarter, Auburn, and now Arkansas, and now Auburn. Let me tell you something. Alabama's 11-1. They are still a good team. Alabama, despite the close wins, they're still going to give Georgia their best shot. And Georgia will give Alabama their best shot. This game, you're going to have to run and pass the ball in this game. And that is a fact. If one team, if you have to rely on either Stetson Bennett or Bryce Young, whichever it is, if you have to rely on either one, then this game is going to become which defense can score a touchdown first. Because I think if Stetson Bennett, if you have to rely on Stetson or you have to rely on Bryce Young, let's say neither team can run the ball. I don't think Alabama's going to run the ball. Me personally, I just don't. But if neither team can pass, and this game is a low score, let's say it's like 10-3 going into the 3rd quarter, it's going to take a defensive touchdown, and that's what's going to be the difference. Because this game could be 0-0 at halftime. It could be. I mean, you just don't know. I don't know how Stetson's going to do. I don't know. Me personally, Stetson has shown that he is better than last year by a mile. Bryce Young has showed me that he is showing me that why he's a freshman. The dude looks like a freshman quarterback. He's, he's not Tua. He's not Jalen Hurts. And he's not Mac Jones. So, I'm interested to see what happens, but Alabama still has a good team. John Mechie and Jameson Williams are the two offensive weapons that we have to worry about. And, can Keely, Ringo, Lewis Seen hold them down? I believe they can. I believe they can keep up with them. So, yeah, I believe the D-line is going to cause problems for Alabama. And I think will Alabama's DBs keep Georgia's wide receivers in check? I think they can. I think it could be that way. But we'll just have to see what happens. I think this is going to be a good game. I think people saying Georgia's going to blow out. Georgia's not blowing Alabama out. If Georgia blows Alabama out, I will be shocked because I just don't see it happen. I don't. I just don't. I love this team. I would love to see it, but I'm not predicting that. No. My prediction for this game, I believe Georgia is going to win this game. And I'm not saying that because I'm a fan. I'm saying it because it's just the matchup. I think Georgia has been way too consistent. Alabama's been way too inconsistent. And I just think Georgia's going to win this game. And the final score, I think it's going to be 31-24 in favor of Georgia. I think Alabama will score 17. I think anybody can predict that, but I think Georgia's going to win this game 31-24. So we'll see what happens. That is my prediction and overview of the 2021 SEC Championship game. And go Dogs. Peace.